Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. So I'm going to be honest, guys. This is just something I do selfishly. Now that I don't get to run my own studio, I'm busy running a team of people running Sticky, helping thousands of photographers around the world with their marketing. I need to stay plugged into what's working, with photographers who are still running, thriving, growing businesses. And I have these conversations anyway because I'm so darn curious, and now I just get to share this conversation with you. And one of the first person really on my list, I was like, who do I get to talk to when I launch the show? It's Ben Hartley. So I finally have him on. Dude, Ben, welcome to today's episode, man. I'm so excited to have you here.
Dude, Nate, I'm excited too. When you connect with me about this, I was jazzed. So thank you, man. And I wish people like our little pre-roll, like before you went live, we were just like chatting it up. Like it was such a good reminder of like, oh, when do I get to see you again? Like in the flesh and the real. This will do for now, but I'm counting the days, man.
It's like flares, dude. When you and I, last time we bumped in together at WPPI, there's all of these. I remember the whole room around us, but you and I are just like, just burning at like a whole nother temperature. It's so cool. Okay, so today, guys, I have Ben here to tell us a little bit about his business, some of the ways he's also helping other photographers, because as an amazing dude, not only is his business crushing it, he's sharing the things he's doing, like boots on the ground. He's sharing that with so many other photographers. And one of the cool things when I met him out in WPPI is I got to have dinner and drinks with people that are in Ben's programs and having this transformational thing. Like their businesses go from like something they're attempted, like a hobby, to full-on businesses in just a matter of months. So I knew I had to have him on the show. We're going to talk about bridal shows. I don't know if you guys have ever done a bridal show, if you love, hate, indifferent. Ben's got some amazing tactics, a lot of things that people do wrong. I think a lot of times people take a tactic like that, they try it a couple times, they put themselves out there, it doesn't go like they wanted, and they're like, it's like breaking, they got betrayed by a boyfriend or a girlfriend. They're like, I will never do those again. So I want to break that myth that I want to make sure you guys know they're still worth it. We're going to talk about managing your money, just being smart with your money. Ben posted something just today about his journey of just being smart. This whole show is called By the Numbers. So we are going to wrap up with just really simple conversation, not advice. We can't say it's advice, right? It's a conversation about really simple things where each of us learned I had to dig myself out of debt early on in my career, and how I set myself and my family on a plan for financial freedom and for sound managing my money. I think both from two people, Ben and I are super like high level, like don't like spreadsheets, don't like numbers so much, but made really simple decisions, I think, that are gonna add up to some good stuff. So I'm gonna play the intro and we're gonna jump into it. All right. Ben, dude, let's go. You got to answer the first two questions first. Thanks again for being here. Number one, how long have you been in business?
Yeah, mercy. So this is always the tricky question. It's like, how old are my kids? Like, I guess they have a very specific age. So I've been in business as Style and Story since 2013. Prior to that, I was Ben and Les Photography for 2 years, starting in 2011.
Okay. Awesome. So
it's 8 years, 8 years from the top, essentially.
Yep. Okay, I love it. And it's evolved. I launched Sticky albums a month after we gave birth to Jack, my second kid. Yeah. So he's 7 now. It's like, it's good to have those benchmarks for people that don't like to write things down. Okay.
Exactly. Well, it was just after we got married that the conversation, at least, it was like the seeds were planted just after Leslie and I got married, where we were just kind of like sitting there, like wide-eyed, just looking at debt and being like, what do we do? And it was Leslie's idea that started this whole thing. And so
that's awesome. I love it. All right, I did not know that piece of the story. We'll dig more into that. So just last year, let's talk about we'll learn more about where you came from, but where you're at now.
Yeah.
What was your average, or sorry, how many weddings did you guys book and sell last year?
Yeah. So last year, we booked 70 weddings. This year, we currently have 86 weddings. Hoping to move that to closer to 90. We'll see. We got some months left in the year. We got months to book 4 more. I think it'll happen.
Wow.
And this year and last year, 7K average prior to in-person sales.
So you jumped ahead a question. I just had to bring it up on the, okay. So your average sale per client, I love it. That's so good. We're going there. So your average booking is 7K, and then you also do in-person sales on top of that.
Correct. Yep.
I love it. Congratulations, dude. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So I think that's so great. Let's tell a little bit more of that story of the first number. How'd you get to 70 plus weddings right now? You have a team also. So how many how many years has it been more than just you that shows up to your wedding?
Well, look, year 1 and 2, it was me and Leslie. That's when we were Ben and Les Photography. 2013, we did a rebrand. We shifted things. We became Style.
Let me simplify the question. So early days, you were showing up to every wedding.
Oh yeah. Nowadays, early days, I was doing 40 weddings a year. First 2 years.
Okay.
Just myself, 40 weddings.
You've got a whole other crew. You're able to book for a whole other crew now, right? Or are you still going to every wedding?
I've got 3 other crews.
Dude. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know. So now you're at 3 crews. You gradually add a crew and then because what you've done so well, I think, guys, here's why what I want you to hear in that math is that, and you already, for those of you that don't know Ben, he's an amazing, authentic marketer. The dude is so good at marketing and booking. He's able to build a business around himself that leverages his best talent. He's good enough at booking brides that he can book enough more than he can shoot himself. And so he's built a business where he can book enough for 4 crews or 3 crews to go shoot weddings all year.
And it wasn't the goal. It was like, this didn't happen. Like,
no.
I mean, wasn't a master plan, just to be clear. It was just kind of like, there's so many people who want to hire me. And so it was like this, it was a very natural, because everyone wants to know, like, how do you build a team? How do you build a team? I got to tell you, I don't know if it's the right move for a lot of people, man.
Right.
It's hard. It's like, you got to, it can't, honestly, I think a big component of it is it can't just be about the money. It's like, you really got to want to build something for people. So.
There's a lot. We could do a whole other episode on growing a team and scale. But anyway, I know that most of the listeners, they're like, I don't want to grow a team. I just want to book enough clients. I just want to keep myself busy all summer. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's jump straight at bridal shows. You've been talking a lot about it. I've been hearing more of my other circles talking about bridal shows. And there's this like, have you seen the new Brene Brown? I knew I couldn't go an episode without talking about it. Have you seen Brene Brown's Netflix special yet?
No. I'm aware of it. My sister-in-law was watching it, but I've not put it on.
So I can't wait to talk to you more after you watch it. I feel like it's just, how you find something amazing and you see, for me, it can be technology. It can be like the story brand book or anything. It's where it's like I put on a new lens and then I see the whole world differently.
Oh yeah,
this lens, and that's what this. I've known of Brene for a long time. Her quotes are amazing. I've seen little TED Talks and vignettes here and there, but like there's a before and after for me of watching this 1 hour.
Oh, awesome!
It's just about being vulnerable, and so I won't go on and on. But I want to talk a little bit about bridal shows from a place or through the lens of vulnerability, where. Actually somebody on my team, our lead designer, he has just started doing more bridal shows, and he says, Nate, a couple of clients he booked because of it. He said they told him they chose him because he showed his work. He showed his work and talked to them about the process and the day and asked really good questions. Whereas everybody else at the show was just talking about like the deal of the show. They're just talking about their price and they were afraid to show like actual work. And it was just awkward, right? Because, and
Sure.
I see that through this lens of we need to really, it's super scary. And that's why I think a lot of people are so hot or cold about bridal shows, is it because it requires you to be authentically vulnerable, to having people be
Yes.
like, "Meh, I don't like your stuff."
Yeah,
Super
it's
scary,
fun. You
right?
get really good at being told no,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
So okay, so after my rant, my question to you, let's start with what where do you see so many photographers doing it wrong and therefore writing off the strategy altogether?
Well, let's just address this for starters. I
Okay.
imagine if you're watching this, that um, it's probably not your first bridal show. Like maybe you've been to one and you failed at the past. I just want to acknowledge that if you attended a bridal show and it was a complete wash, right? It's okay. Like that might not be your fault. There's so much misinformation. There's so much kind of overload or just bad stuff. It's just kind of keeping you guys at bay. So I just want to acknowledge that. Or even if you've been to one again, you invested $500, you attended something and you're like, well, I'm never doing that again. Right.
Yep.
Or maybe you're thinking about doing one right now, but you're terrified that it's going to happen again, that you're going to waste your time and your money. I want to set those fears at rest. You can do this. There are actual systems. There's ways to step up to the plate that you're getting at, of doing a bridal show the right way. And I don't know what it is about our industry, Nate, but there's so many big name photographers, at least for me. I remember stepping up to WPPI and just hearing so many big name photographers just dogging on bridal shows.
Right.
That suggesting essentially that if you attended one, that they were only for budget photographers, that your ideal client was not there, that if you actually had a successful business, that you wouldn't be attending a bridal show. And the very act of attending a bridal show, you should be ashamed of. Right.
Wow.
It's I remember hearing these kind of this idea perpetuating the industry of if you're not booking everyone by word of mouth, then you're not going to last. And I bought into that, Nate. Yeah. And I discovered, that it's not true. There's ways that you guys can do this. You can absolutely attend a bridal show and do amazing things, and it's just that we've been kind of approaching it the wrong way. And this is a process for me of testing this out and learning it. It was 2015 that I attended when I very first started, to go back. By the way, I don't even know if I'm answering your question, but I feel like this context is really important, Nate.
I love it. Go for it. I love it.
When I first started, I attended a bridal show, Nate, and I cleaned up. It was let's talk numbers, right? So if this was 2011, I attended a bridal show. It cost me, I think it was $150 to enter. And I booked 10 weddings at this show, signed the contracts at the show, money's in hand, done.
Yep. Wow.
I also charged $750, and they they got me for the month, the weekend. It was they had everything.
Yeah, right.
And so, but back then it's that I was oh wow, this was incredible. This is all you need to do. And so I attended another show. It was great. And so let's fast forward a couple years though. Okay. Fast forward, and by this time now, we're starting out at closer to $4,000. Okay.
Yep.
Dramatic shift. It's starting point, Nate. 6 hours, you get nothing. It's I'm going to show up and shake your hand, offer you a water. No, so it's what do you get it? So it's starting at 4K, and we attend this show, and it was just crickets. It was just such a waste of time. It was complete bust. And I just remember immediately in that moment buying into all the justifications of everything that I heard. Yep, everyone was right. This is rubbish. Never attending a bridal show again. And you know what? I didn't attend a show. I think it was 4 years before I attended another show. Yeah, and it was only because somebody gave it to me, Nate. It was somebody gave me this show, and I was well, damn it. I keep teaching all these photographers about marketing stuff. And so if I'm going to do this, let me consider a new story. What else could be true? What if there was a way that I could show up to this thing in a different way? What would it look like to try on a different approach? And so we started testing bridal shows, and man, it was we walked away from a single show, Nate, we booked $70,000 of bookings, dude. And this, some of these are I've got an 8K wedding to Cancun that I booked at a bridal show last year. I'm going there this year. I'm going to Cancun this year.
Wow.
They're 8K is just for the photography. They're paying for the flight. They're paying for our all-inclusive hotel for the time there. Leslie, I'm taking my wife. You better believe it. We're going to stay for a week afterwards. And it was from a bridal show. Like, I want to flip this table over, but Benny and I, my partner, Ben and I, we've got another booking that we did at a bridal show. This is going to be an elopement wedding on a mountaintop in Maine at Acadia National Park. We're going to hike up to the top of a mountain. We're going to photograph the wedding. Then we're going to go down to the bottom of the mountain and eat food out of taco trucks. And it was from a bridal show. We want to flip the table again. It's like, there's ways to do this the right way. So I just think it's important because I know that people have been burned. I've heard it all. I know all the things about bridal shows, all the beliefs that we have. Right.
So the number one thing, I think you and I were talking about this in the pre-show, is my first question, you're totally answering it. I love you. Is what are photographers doing wrong when it comes to bridal shows? Number one, it's going into it with a limiting belief, right? Going into it the wrong attitudes. You get your head around that. What is possible? How can I show up differently? And then what else? Once we're in the booth, let's compare some of the things you still see other photographers that are at the same shows as you, and maybe some of the mistakes you made also. Let's do a couple more tactical mistakes and approaches people are getting wrong, and
sure,
so that they can continue to be right that bridal shows are bad.
Well, yeah, and it's exactly that. Let's just stay on that for a hot second. As soon as you have a judgment, judgments are a son of a bitch. It's like you seek to prove yourself right. Yeah. I remember Ben and I walking up to the next show after we bombed that first one, and we immediately walked up to it like, all right, well, this is a waste of our time already. So we're kind of half-ass setting up the booth. Things are a little wrinkled. We're whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a waste of our money. It's only going to attract trash couples. And then every single time an instance would occur, every opportunity that we got to prove ourselves right and say see, told you this was a waste, we would not only think it to ourselves, we were literally expressing it. We were in this little cycle of cynicism of and so things like you show up 10 minutes before the show starts. Not only that, but you pack up early. You pull up a chair to sit at your booth, and you're going to sit there until someone comes up. You're going to have a table set up dividing between you and the guests, you and everybody else. You're going to put a bowl of candy out as a way to entice people to come into your booth, or you're going to put a free engagement banner that's going to entice people to come into your booth, thinking that's going to be the thing that's going to attract their attention, that's going to get them to come up and say hi to you or to take a piece of candy, and it's going to make the transition easier instead of you stepping up to the plate and saying hi. Instead of speaking, instead of actually presenting yourself as a person in front of them, looking into the eyeballs, it's like you're hoping that this candy, well, that'll bait them in. Maybe this banner saying $200 off, maybe that'll bait them in, and it won't. It's that's not going to be the thing that's going to connect with another human. It's newsflash. Your ideal client isn't 10-year-old kids who want a lollipop or a mint. Sorry. So it's I get so fired up, and I think the biggest one is it's just outward complaining with other vendors. Because look, we can talk about all those things of the setup itself, but it's literally the expression of complaint to the other vendors around you. Yes. Yep. It's as soon as you open your damn mouth to go complain with another vendor across the thing, and it's always the same complaints, by the way. Looks like attendance is down this year again. I don't know if I'm going to do it again next year. I don't even know why I attend these things. Yep. Man, just more and more. I just don't know if this is the right way to attract couples. Everyone's online. I should probably just be running Facebook ads right now. All right, well, there's a waste of my Saturday. All that BS. Can I swear on this thing? All that Absolutely. BS. Okay, guys, sometimes it's going to flow out of me. And so, but all that does is it's just seeking to prove yourself right. Right. Even when it means the detriment of your business. It's dude, can I tell you this? A lot of this observation, it came out of WPPI. I'm at WPPI and I'm attending the trade show floor, right? And this was a year that I was actually volunteering to work at Fundies Booth. Fundy, it's design software, sales software for photographers. Freaking adore the software. But I'm volunteering at the Fundy Booth as a user of theirs, not as an employee. I'm not getting paid. I'm just like volunteering there. And, it's end to end of Expo day one. And just like the word among the vendors was that like the conference was changing, attendance was down, that it was too expensive to get a booth there. So much negativity that the only people that show up to these conferences, they just want stuff for free. It's like, does this sound like anybody to you? Like waste of time, budget photographers, advertising too expensive. This isn't how photographers make decisions. Does that sound familiar? It's like it's the exact same thing that we're all doing at our things. And then there was Fundy. It's like that's everyone except for the Fundy booth. Like I recall the Fundy booth was like the talk of the show. It's like the talk of the trade show floor. There was so much positivity flowing out of that booth and they dominated the expo, Nate. And this was a tiny ass booth. This wasn't no like giant Canon booth that's like taking up a quarter of the trade show floor. This is this little tiny ass booth. And I just observed, I observed a number of things that were going on inside the Fundy booth that the other vendors were not doing. And instead, all of their attention was on they're the victim. This is somebody else's fault. All the attention was on all the BS. Yep. And I can go over what I saw in the Fundy booth if that's helpful. But it's just such an interesting parallel.
I've had those conversations time and time again. It's like, oh, I got the wrong spot. They should have put the entry over here. And what it comes down to, again, here's my new lens, is this Brene Brown vulnerability. Is it's so scary to put. I don't think there's anything much more vulnerable to be an entrepreneur and a creative. Right? We're putting our art out there and saying, I'm good at this. Yeah. And that's scary to like really, really, really put ourselves out there for somebody to be like, no, your work is bad. Like we're bearing ourselves so raw that it takes great effort to keep ourselves from putting our armor back on. Right? Because our armor is the excuses. Is being able, when we're not getting bookings, we need to very quickly be able to point to at least all of these other external things as to why they're not choosing you. Otherwise, it can be crushing. So as long as it's very natural to have these defenses, but the problem is when we numb ourselves to this risk, to this vulnerability, we're also numbing ourselves to the real joy that it is to be a photographer, to connect with a human being in face-to-face at a trade show booth, whether it's for a bridal show or in the Fundy booth or the sticky booth at WPPI. Like I've lived that and seen it in so many different ways. It's so spot on. This is great. So what advice do you have? Like a mantra? How do you get yourself in the right headspace? And what do you say? Like, does it fake it till you make it? Like, how do you introduce yourself to?
Well, let's go back to the mantra. Let's go to the internal thing, because the way that everyone else shows up to a bridal show is, okay, I've spent. Let's be conservative and say $500. Some bridal shows are less than that. Some are much more than that. Typically, the bridal shows that I'm attending, $2,000-$3,000, right? It's like it all depends on your location, that kind of stuff. So, okay. So, geez, I've just spent $1,000 to be at this bridal show. Not only that, I've given up a weekend from my family. I've filled my minivan. I've taken all the car seats in my minivan to fill with all this junk to log over here and to set up this booth. And this is what we tell ourselves. I better get enough attention to make it worth my while. Yeah. Totally fair. That's where we're coming from. Everyone arrives at the scene saying, I better get enough attention to make this worth my while. And my mantra is different. I flip it. I'm considering to myself, what would it look like for me to give enough attention to make it worth their while? Now that's a hard thing to do, right? But to attend a show, considering what would it look like to actually give enough attention to make it worth their while. And when I say their while, Sure, the brides that are there a while, yes, that'd be interesting. What would that look like? But also look around you. When that show's over, when the show is done and it packs up and goes home, where are you going to be getting leads from? Is the show going to give you more leads after the show's over? No. But who else is there? All these other vendors. What would I look like if my goal wasn't to get everyone to look at Stone's story, but if my goal was actually to give all the other vendors all the attention, right? If I could try to push as many people to you, Nate, as possible at that show, and I could push everyone to you, when the show is over, it doesn't matter if it's the smallest show in town, when the show's over, who's going to give me leads?
I love it. It's so smart. It's the best place to build those more authentic relationships too. And if you're only complaining, if you're only coming from a place of negativity and scarcity, nobody wants to build a relationship with that. Like, that's just blah. Like, yeah, we can just complain together. Boring. Like, the real people you want to network with are other people who trust in the abundance of just being real. That's so cool. So going, and
this ties to Fundy real quick.
Yeah,
so
totally.
The Fundy booth, the thing that I learned from Fundy is like, why was it the talk? Why did they slay? It's like, for starters, there was this constant flow of traffic and energy. It was a small booth, but this constant flow of traffic and energy. And sometimes it was just internally, like they were having so much fun inside the booth, right? That it was literally causing FOMO from people. Like, people would like they'd look over and they'd be like, what's going on at that booth? Yeah. I'm going to go check that out. Right. So it was literally like, it was the positivity was actually causing FOMO of like, what am I missing out on over there? Which meant, just to be clear, that also means that they actually had staff. They actually had people to interact with. It wasn't just like this one person sitting around, and so to the point that I just was bringing up about what would it look like to make it worth their while, and this whole staffing question. Like, Andrew, dude, Fundy's owner, like Fundy Software's owner, Andrew Funderburg, he was rarely in the Fundy booth. He was rarely in the booth, man. Instead, the booth is being run. It's being operated by his team. And then he's out. And he's out like giving. He's posting shout out to other vendors' products, shout outs to their service. And he's showing up and he's like, messing with people and building relationships. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, so what would it look like if it wasn't just about converting the cold leads, but instead, who already has your traffic? Who's going to walk away from this thing having leads already? Where are they at? And how are you going to give that person more value? So this is why at our booths, man, we have 3 to 4 people at our trade show booths. Yes. Not only that, but guess who worked at Fundies booth? Who was I that day, dude? I was a user. I was not an employee. This is what woke me up. I remember I was working at the Fundy booth, and this guy came up and he asked me this super technical question about like back end shenanigans on the software. And I did not realize that I sold him the software in that moment, but I did based off of my answer. I said, I don't work for Fundy. I'm just a photographer who like loves their product and like think they're cool people. And so I'm just here to help. And lo and behold, he buys, right? It's like, I remember the year that I attended, it was like 4 of the 7 people who were working it were not actually employees, right?
I love it.
It's like they were it's like the walking, talking testimonials. They're walking, talking billboards to the company. And so if you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's great, Ben. You have 3 other teams of people for you. Well, it's like, do you know who's the best people to have with you at a bridal show? Your past clients. Like, you've got someone there who's literally, they've pulled out their wallet. They've hired you for the exact same service. And now they were so satisfied. They enjoyed the process so much that they befriended you. And now they're at this bridal show sharing that experience with other people. Game over. It's like, and they don't need to know everything about your business.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate. You're able to get another couple. I love this. You're getting other couples, your past clients, to come sit with you at a bridal show. How do you have that conversation, dude? I totally am like,
how do I ask them?
100% sold. Like, how do you get how do you get them to show up?
Well, for starters, you've got to build your business in such a way that you genuinely connect with humans, where you're not just showing up to the next gig. So, I mean, and that, look, let's not be like overly romantic about this whole thing. It's not like every single client of mine is a candidate for that. There's definitely the short list. And I imagine if you're listening, you've got that short list of people that have like, man, I've actually become friends with them. It's kind of cool, you know? And you reach out and you say, hey, like, well, you pick up the phone for one, and you call. It's like you say, hey, and by the way, this wasn't the first time that we've hung out. Like
Yeah.
the people that I asked, like, it's funny. I was doing a training on this the other day, and I literally have a picture of the people that I'd asked to come to the show. I have a photograph of us all playing that pie face game. Like, you know what I mean? Where there's that pie face board game where you get the hand that whips the whipped cream in your face.
Yes,
Like, we've already played pie face together, like on Christmas Eve. So like, this isn't like the first time that I'm connecting with them. Like, it's, it's a funny thing that when you actually show up for people. But I just say I've got a bridal show, and I would love to have you come and help out. And I know that's your time. And so I would love to do something to make it worth your time. Like, obviously, dude, I know like you like me, and that's cool, but I also want to honor that. And so if you'd come out, like, I love, like, dude, it's the easiest transition. It's like you could do an anniversary session if they were a past client. It's like, hey, dude, your 1-year anniversary is coming up. Can we get out? I'd love to just like, thank you for that. I want to do an anniversary session to make you an album from it. If it's not been a year, it's been far past that, I'd love to just make you an additional album from your, I notice how I said additional because everyone of my couples has an album, but I'm going to make you an album, from your session, or I'd love to make you some prints or canvases, or you've got that little baby of yours now. Can we get together and do like a family shoot? Or like, you've got so much value to give your past couples, so much value to give them. It's like, duh. And not only that, but now it's worth like an incredible amount of value. Well, assuming you value yourself, now it's not, I'll pay you $14 an hour, but now it's, I want to give you this session, I want to give you like a $2,000 session and a $1,500 album. You're not wording it that way, but if they were to look at your price sheet, they might see that.
Right.
Dude, but is this a candid conversation? I don't know.
It's so gold. I mean, what I keep hearing, and I love that you're starting here each and every time, is it's about being generous, right? And it's coming from a place of not what can I get from all of this. It's how can I give first. And so you're also doing that with each and every one of your customers and your clients. Sure. So they're filled up, right? You've been investing in that relationship. To the ones that, of course, there's like variations, right? There's the short list that you really, really connect with. And because you've invested that energy, now you have this thing as a result, this amazing
it's reciprocation.
Yeah.
But also don't get it twisted either. It's like, I'm not petty. It's like, I don't expect anything. They may say no. They may be like, I'm not really interested. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, it's all good. But it's like, rather than always being the one to just ask, I'm making sure that I'm at least, I'm giving. I really am. But don't be petty about it.
So let's transition to other ways you give and you show up with these other vendors. Is you'll run around the trade show either beforehand or after. You obviously don't want to be like interrupting other vendors while they're talking to other potential clients, right? That's just bad form. But when they're not, you run around and you're doing like selfies, you're at messaging that like, these are my favorite florists in the whole city. This is my favorite DJ in the whole city. Like, doing a selfie, like showing them love, giving to them is.
Well, yeah, because how do you all go to bridal shows on your little Instagram stories, right? You pull out your phone and you're like, hey, it's me, Ben. Down Stories here at the bridal show. Come see us at booth 103. Can't wait. See you then. Like, well, duh, you're at the bridal show. Like, instead, I'm going to go walk around and I'm going to go, hey, I'm hanging out at the bridal show and I'm here at Nate's sticky emails booth. You guys, you got to check out Nate. His stuff is incredible marketing tools. Dude, I use it. Go check him out. And then I make that my story and I tag you in it. Well, if you're there in front of your booth, like, it's like, I'm also giving value to the people who follow me. Yeah. Because they already know what I'm up to. But now I'm extending their reach I'm expanding other people, I'm networking for them, right? Yeah. And now you're going to see that I just blew you up and you're going to be like, oh, that was cool of him. And I'm going to go around and I'm just going to share who are the people, and I'm not doing this to every single person. That's going to get like real broad brushstrokes. I'm going after the people that I genuinely like, I genuinely trust, I've experienced their product, and I know they're going to take care of my clients. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like you need to actually act like you are an investor in their business before you ever are one. And you are an investor in their business. Yeah. When I say their business, the other vendor's business, you are literally an investor in their business. Newsflash, you're an investor in their business, because if they win, that means you win. right? So start acting like you are an investor in their business before you were ever asked to be one, right? It's like prior to being a wedding photographer, I was like a semi-professional longboarder. I say semi-professional because I couldn't support my family doing it, but I was getting paid to travel and skateboard, right?
Yep.
But like, how the hell did I get that job? I got all of my sponsorships, all of my promotions by acting like I was an investor in these skateboarding companies before they ever asked me to be one. Just like I'm repping all their shit all the time. I'm always plugging them. I'm always pushing them. And they see that stuff, right? It's like they're aware of it. It's the same, dude, it's the same thing that's happening. How did I become a, like, you know, like more or less like a Fundie ambassador, a Fundie storyteller? Because I acted like one before I was ever invited to be a Fundie storyteller.
Totally. That's been the hugest thing for Sticky also, to grow our brand, is to get people that just tell the story. And I always am approached by other aspiring speakers and educators who are like, hey dude, can you sponsor me? What? Like, what? Do you use my software? Do you use Sticky? Why would I sponsor you if you're not like? We could go on and on and on. Okay, so going back to give us one more tactical tip. Like, you get somebody.
Can I just really expand on how freaking tactical this is and how important this is? Because if the show is a bust, if the leads don't come through because there was a snowstorm and people don't show up, right? Or there was only 20 brides who came, this show should not be a bust if you do this right, right? If you are actually pushing into the vendors out of there, you get like, dude, most of our bookings from bridal shows come from the vendors afterwards, come from the relationships afterwards, right? Yeah. So I just want to really hone in on that. It's like we get texts afterwards that are like, hey, you're available May 16th. I reply, yes. They reply, cool, book it. It's like dumb. It's so important to understand how valuable that is to get outside of just looking at the cold traffic. Yeah. Get outside of the cold traffic and open your eyes to who else is around you, right?
Yeah. I can't help but share this quick tactic that blew my mind. Early days of Sticky albums. People were really smart, savvy photographers who had the same generous mindset as you. They were used to making a Sticky album for each one of their couples, and they were doing bridal shows and having these relationships with vendors. And the generosity is never ending, right? When you're at these weddings with these same vendors, you're taking awesome pictures of their stuff, whether they're detail shots of the photographer, or sorry, the florist or the cake or whatever it is. You're giving them these amazing asset, which is your images, right? So a lot of photographers already have these amazing assets on their hard drive. What if you showed up to a bridal show with a Sticky album that you made for your favorite vendors? So let's just do a florist, right? You've got a gallery of 20 amazing shots, and instead of your logo at the top of the Sticky album, you've got their logo and their phone number. Because guess what? Painting with broad strokes here, most of the other vendors at a bridal show, their online marketing is subpar, is below the industry standard that we have in photography, because we're all a little bit more savvy. We all have images. What's the best piece of content for a website? Imagery. So we're always going to be a step above. If you can just give somebody that amazing marketing tool, like, hey, here's this thing you can share, like a business card. So when you're passing out, when people ask for a portfolio of your work at a bridal show, you can give them this app that they can walk away with, your contact information, your portfolio, all this stuff. People are like, what? You made this for me? Pretty powerful stuff.
Love it, man.
Dude, this is amazing. So you've got more awesome tactical tips yourself. I'm going to share the link now right here. Let's see. I'm going to post it here.
Yeah, there's so much. There's like
Six-figure photography start. What happens when
sixfigurephotography.com/start. So this is, look, bridal shows is like one of many components that I've just like poured so much into. If you go to that link, sixfigurephotography.com/start, it's just a sign up for a 7-day crash course. Now, each day I'm going to take a different component of the business and expand on it and break it down and wrestle with it. And it's, dude, it's massive. It's like, get ready for a doozy. Like, and it's good stuff. So like, I'm just telling you, I poured everything into it. And so each day is going to be a new email. I do mention bridal shows in there as well. We get into a little bit more with bridal shows, and so make sure that you check that out. And it's free. It's like there for you guys. Like take advantage of this. That's what I want you guys to know. It's like, look, just take advantage of it. There's no catch-22. It's just there for you. So sixfigurephotography.com/start. And I think it'll help you just become a little bit more aware of like where my head's at, where my heart's at, what this stuff is, how this is all working. There's a lot.
It's so cool. And here we go. Common theme here, guys. If you've noticed it, how generous Ben is. He's one of the most generous people I know. And I think you're an inspiration, dude, for how when you just show up without any expectation of return or reciprocity. It's just like, no, it's just more fun to live your life from a place of generosity and abundance.
It is. I get to sleep at night,
Yeah, totally.
It's like, so I get some really good sleep, man. I got to tell you, I really enjoy sleep.
Mm-hmm. Right there. I love it. So let's wrap up. We promised people we'd do a quick rant. You shared a cool post today about your financial investment kind of history, like how your journey, so to speak, of how you came to managing your money. And the continual journey. Right. So give me the high level there. What
high level is I'm good at making money. I have not been up until now the best at actually managing it. Right. And knowing, where to put it and what to do with things. And I know this is a constant wrestling match, especially for solopreneurs, even just beginning to separate, like, what is profit of the business? What is your take home? How do you pay yourself? What's your salary? It's like, then the debt, and where do I focus on investments and retirement? There's so many questions that come up. It's like, what do I do? And so I started to get really real with this, over the last few years. This is coming from the kid, my post, I shared this, this is how bad I was at money. Like I literally had to sell my Xbox to pay rent. But I was like, that was funny as I was recalling, like trying to get people to understand just how poor I was at money management. Like that was such a great story. I was like, and it worked out kind of well. I rushed out to buy the Xbox when I was in college in order to play Halo 3 when it launched. And I was able to play it for a month before my rent was due again. And then I sold it. And I only lost maybe $15. So maybe it wasn't the worst investment because I got to rent an Xbox and play Halo 3 for an entire month for $15. Maybe I'm not that dumb. But I love it. I digress.
It's all
good. just trying to get informed on this. And one of the things that I found, Nate, is I just got so overwhelmed. It's just I got so overwhelmed with I'd open these books and I'd get to these websites of all these like financial advising websites and even the blogs. And I honestly, man, I just felt dumb. It's like, we don't want to feel stupid. It's like I resisted actually feeling like a effing idiot. And here I am, like six-figure photography, and so there's some great resources. One of the best ones was just Ramit Sethi. Was his book "I Will Teach You to Grow." I Will Teach You How to Be Rich. Was just a great book that he allowed me to not feel so dumb. I felt like he brought himself down to my level, and I felt like kindred to him in a way. And he really broke it down. And so anyhow, I just knew that this is something that a lot of photographers wrestle with. And so I just did a post in my mastermind group of some of the experience that I've been in. That's kind of like high level with it, but I can get into some of the emergency fund stuff.
I'm going to grab a link because you've got some links to other good authors and posts and resources. I'm going to post a link to your mastermind Facebook group also in the comments here below in a sec. I want to get the link right.
And in that, go ahead. In order, I've got to approve you to say that because normally you have to buy a product. We're going to go ahead and call this. It's all good. Nate, I want you to know this is a product right now. And so say that you found it from Nate and I got you back. I'll get you guys in.
Oh, dude, dang. My bad. That's awesome. You're the best.
Don't worry about it.
I love it. Okay. So I had a similar, like buying everything. I think I'll go all the way back to my mom tells a story. I was like, hey, Mom, why can't we get a Nintendo? She's like, well, honey, we can't afford that right now. Yeah. I was like, Mom, you got tons of checks. Look at all these checks you have. And that was I did not have the best. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I didn't also have a lot of practice and experiments and role models in managing money. And I made any money I got, I spent for a long, long time. And then some. Then I found credit cards in college. It was like, what? I get a free I get a Snickers bar and a T-shirt, and I got $2,000 to go buy some new clothes.
Dude, I remember those days. Oh my God. You just brought back flashbacks of walking into the bank to get a credit card, and I would get it. Literally, you pegged it, dude. How did you know my life? I got a T-shirt and a Snickers bar.
It's a sign. Luckily, that's illegal to do that now. They can't.
Is it illegal now?
There's on college campuses they can't do it.
Yeah.
I think they still do it other places.
It's so nuts.
It's so bad. So here's the one sentence I like to say, guys, is I think Ben, let's go all the way to the end. When I think I saw you learning this too, there was another post you did like over maybe it's been a year, where I just shared my approach is Vanguard index funds in a Roth IRA, right? And they have plans set up where I just pick it's like the name of the plan is 2045 for me. Like, when am I going to be 65 or when am I going to be whatever the age is, right? Where they automatically structure the investment fund where it's a little bit higher risk early while we're young, and then it automatically gets more conservative while afterwards. But here's the thing, it's like, what is the fees are like less than 1%. And it is, I don't care, out of like all of the industry leaders on what they teach you how to manage your money, that's what it all comes down to. Get an index fund. Vanguard's one of the cheapest. They're becoming the leaders. That's where you want to end up. And the thing that I want to avoid, the biggest mistake I see too many people make once they start, because they usually get a referral from an old past family member or something like that, somebody they trust, you want to ask any financial advisor, how do they get paid? Mm-hmm. And if they get paid by taking, normal standard rate is 1% of assets managed, or they say, don't worry about it, it's all rolled into, I just take a small cut, when you win, I win. That's like a really sexy way of saying they're just leeching off of your money. And leeching in a way, oftentimes taking your money and putting at a fund that has like 5% fees. So that means when the market does great, let's say the market grows 10%, it's got to grow at least, you're only getting 5% growth because they're getting paid first on some of those funds. I go on and on, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds here. Just know that if you're paying for an advisor that way, the only way to transparently pay for an advisor without getting scammed is hourly or flat fee, period. Otherwise, I believe you're paying for too much. That's my simple, non-legal binding opinion.
And it's, we skipped ahead a little bit to, you skipped ahead to like the Roth and, but it's like emergency fund one.
Yes.
And then get rid of debt.
Yeah, totally. What's step one?
And then,
that's like the very last step, when you've got money left over to invest. And if you're going to go hire an advisor or something like that, that's what I solve for. But Ben, you take us to like, what's step one of digging ourselves out of the Snicker bar credit card debt?
You want me to take you to step one?
Yeah. I think that's what you were saying is like, the important thing is an emergency fund, saving for an emergency fund, and then paying off the high. Well,
and I think step one is to start to become aware a little bit. And it doesn't mean that you need to become like some stock market guru or like super aware of funds and investments and stuff. Just honestly pick up Ramit's book and just start to become, change will not happen without awareness. It's like you're actually going to manage what you can measure. And so start to become just aware of what's out there, what are the terms, and start to set aside, out of every time you get paid, start to set aside money that's going to be set for your emergency fund, right? Like 3 to 6 months. If you want to make $100K a year, it's like 30 to 60K is what should be set aside liquid. If you need it in a bind, you're good to go. Yeah. And that's going to allow you to then move forward in life, knowing that you got a plan, you're okay. It's going to allow you to make more decisions, take actually a little bit of risk, But and to be honest with you, man, Nate, like this is stuff that I needed to create so much of a support system around me to just really, this is something I really wrestled with. I don't know if I explained how much I wrestled with this. I did not have the support that like you said, the role models in my life. Yeah, and so I actually, I hired a financial planner, not an advisor, but just a planner. And this is the word, fiduciary. You want someone who's a fiduciary, which means that they're making decisions based off of your best interests. They're not going to make any sort of commission on the sale or commission at all. So I don't pay any percentage. There's no commission when they sell me any sort of insurance or plan. It's just a flat rate. I know what I'm paying them each year. And they come alongside me to just help lead me through this process. And come alongside me because I just know I need that,
Totally. It's huge. I think that what I love, you and I are always bouncing like all the way around. The thing for me was being able to think about it. First, digging myself out of debt, like thank God I started just in time. And I had an aunt who was a banker who was able to, she didn't give me the money, but she was able to co-sign on a debt consolidation loan. And there's services out there that will do that also, that'll help you take all of your existing huge high ticket debt and consolidate it into one manageable payment, because the hardest thing about getting out of debt is thinking about it. That's it. Yeah. It's like a swamp that just like, you want to do everything in your power to not even think about it. And I had some medical debt that from back in the day that I just felt like scammed. I felt like, what? My insurance didn't cover this. All of a sudden, there's this like huge bill. I just pretended it wasn't there for years, and it destroyed my credit. And because I couldn't, it was too painful to think about. And I think that first step of just being able to look at it, to consolidate it. When you get the right people in your corner, a lot of those places will have a conversation with you when it's time to consolidate, and sometimes knock down, because they're looking at the alternative is bankruptcy and them not getting anything, versus sometimes lowering your interest rates so that they know and putting you on a plan. But anyway, I think it's,
one last recommendation, because again, for me, I think for a lot of people, the big resistance is you don't want to look at it, you want to face the facts, but you also don't want to made to feel dumb. You don't want to look like a failure. You don't want to feel like a failure. Right. You don't want to face the facts. And so there's a really great book called Why Smart People, I was like, oh, good, that's me, do stupid things with money.
Yeah.
And it allowed me, to be completely honest, it allowed me to open the book with and I didn't feel like such an asshat. Like, I didn't feel like I was so dumb with the way that things had gone. But it's a great book that helps to expand on why smart people like you and I, everyone who's listening, we're smart people, man. Why are we doing stupid things with money? And it helped just to open up that box for me and to begin to look at it and get real and honest with it and make the right decisions. So check that book out. Author is Burt Whitehead.
I love it. It reminds me, I was a bartender for many years, and remember when the movie Sideways came out with Paul Giamatti? Like,
I'm not familiar with him.
He's got that great scene where he's like, "Don't pour me another effing Merlot." Anyway, went viral. But while I was a bar manager, Pinot Noir sales exploded. Like, just destroyed. They were selling it as fast as they could make it. And one of the reasons was that so many focus study groups would say that people were afraid to order wine because they didn't want to feel stupid.
Yes.
Saying Cabernet Sauvignon, what? No, never mind. I'm not going to say that out loud.
So true, man.
Merlot. I'm not going to say these other things. Where Pinot Noir, I can say it. It's easy. It's simple, and people felt fancy and sophisticated and smart without being made first feel stupid. And the movie totally leveled the playing ground where we could all just laugh about it. And you can do that.
Awesome. Love that story.
That same thing to your photography too, guys. I've got a new course I'll post here too about just how we talk about our pricing. We've got to remember that our customers, when they're in a bridal show or whenever, they're not experts in our industry. They don't know why an acrylic is cool or a metal print is cool or why our canvases are better. What's a lay flat album? They don't know that stuff. And when we talk about it as if it's normal, they feel stupid. And the saddest thing is when they feel stupid, when anybody feels stupid around us, they won't necessarily tell you. They'll just ghost. And you don't get that feedback, right? So,
and a lot of times they won't even acknowledge it for themselves. It's just the automatic reaction will come up in themselves, and they'll just numb in a way. Like there's just like, it's like an automatic reaction, feeling stupid. They're numb and they're out. They don't even realize they felt stupid before they're just scrolling on Instagram instead. It's like, because you all do it, we all do it. It's like, oh shit, I'm having to be faced with all the terrible parts of myself. Just gonna go check my feed real quick. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a quick story from Anthony Hall was a guest last week. He was telling the story of how he's doing a consult. He's from the UK, and on his price list it was a bridal portrait. I think that's what it was. And no, there was some other more embarrassing term. And like he's talking about it,
like an intimate session.
It was something. Maybe I think what happened is he had something on his price list that he thought made sense, but the boyfriend or the fiance thought it was a boudoir session, and it was super awkward because it was just a miscommunication. We got to break down the things we're talking about into the simplest, most layman terms in our clients' language. But that again is a whole nother episode. Ben, you are amazing, dude. Every time we chat, it's fantastic. You guys, I'll post more links. You guys have the one down below how to get learn more from Ben and join his awesome group. I'm gonna play the intro, dude. We're out of here. Have an awesome rest of your day, dude. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, everyone.